Hello.
I know that your Polish keeps getting better and better, but let's stick to English for tonight.
At some point I will be able to do it in Polish, yes. No, I understand more and more, and yeah.
So you have been very busy these days, haven't you? Even though you claim to sacrifice more and more of your time to your non-stage activities, you seem not to be able to stay away from the piano for long.
Well, no, I mean, it was never the plan to stop playing, and I will always play because I love music, and I think I have still some things to say, so that's why this will never be stopped. But life has been very, very busy, and it has become very, very busy. And I don't complain because it's much better to have stuff to do than not. So, but it's really an amazing journey.
Mm-hmm. So you enlist 2 music education startups, 1 in-depth musicality AI project, 1 pioneer piano academy which is in its pre-launch phase, and some other innovative projects, including 1 with blockchain, all connected to music. Well, it is impressive. I guess it must be very difficult to find time for all of this, including also your musical activities.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the busier one gets, the more one learns time management. So this is the most important thing, actually. So people that do a lot, they always find time to do everything because they know how to manage the day. And this is with me the same. My days are very, very long, 15, 16-hour days mostly. No weekends, but if you do something you love, it's a great thing. And all the projects that we are doing, they come out of a deep-rooted mission that music needs to be changed in a profound way, because I got to know that I visited 50 countries on the piano, playing concerts, and in all the countries I saw the same things. Music education is in really bad shape compared to other subjects, and musicality, as I call it, so the real art of interpreting music in the most profound way is unfortunately going down the last probably 5 or 6 decades, so a long time already. And but there are many factors that are the reason for this, so I don't want to go into all of that. But since we realized that there's a need to change, a need to change young people's minds, a need to change musicality in music. We just couldn't do nothing, and we started in 2017 the first startup on this mission, and since then it just keeps going, you know, like it's in innovating and doing new things from scratch is like a drug, you know. You cannot get enough from that. So it's just but all has a that's great, because in startups you say there are passion founders and there are other founders. Let's say if you found because of money or because of whatever, but passion founders, what I am, is like you have a mission that you want to do, and whatever is needed to reach that mission will be done.
Yeah, but the mission to educate young musicians, young artists, is not very rare among the classical musicians. What they do is they give lessons. You decided to use other tools. As I understand, the world of technology, internet is fascinating you as well as music.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been with the computer since I got my first computer. I think that was when I was 7 or 8, and it's fascinating. And I get what you're saying, that it's usually people give masterclasses and teach and so on, but this is not exactly what I'm about. Of course, we do start the academy, so I do give masterclasses as well here and there, but the mission that we are having is there has to be a shift in consciousness of people in music. That's what is really needed. People need to have the feeling again. of quality music, of like if you listen to a great interpretation by Friedman or by Kochalski or by people like that of the last century, then this is art. It's like I don't know. The husband of my dear teacher Idil Biret as well said once, it's like lace. It's like the art of lace. It's like this. It's like you have to sparkle that in the young musicians, and not only in young musicians but also ideally in the audience. And this is why we are driving on many lanes, as we say. So one is, of course, you have to educate the professional musicians that will be on stage in the next 20 years. But at the same time, you have to also educate in terms of quality the normal people in school. Music has to get back to normal schools. I know that's also not really rare. All musicians say that, but I say it in a different way. I don't want normal people in schools to learn all Mozart symphonies by heart or technicalities like that. It has to be quality education, so meaning that you get the feeling of what quality music is about. Like if you eat great food or drink great wine, and you can't make that great wine, but you have the feeling that was a great wine or that's great food. And this is what is not really there anymore in the world, and we need to get back there. But I'm very positive that it's possible.
If I am not mistaken, you mentioned your first startup launched a few years back. That was Appassio project, right, which was basically a platform for students and teachers to connect and to create a relationship fruitful for both of the sides. One may say that your intuition is actually very good, because due to pandemic, we see that the online education became indispensable. So how do you perceive the few years of functioning of Appassio also from the perspective of last 2 years?
Well, it changed everything, of course. As I told you, I mean, we are on that big mission, so meaning that we use technology to have, as a means to an end of music, that the quality gets better. So that's why we used online pre-pandemic just to make it available for students to see very, very busy musicians that wouldn't have time to just teach on a regular basis, but with an online solution that allows you to actually play music nicely. So we have a tailor-made connection for music transmission. So in our software, like the input audio is, the output audio is exactly like the input audio. So we don't do any computing. The music is pure. And but as I said, it was means to an end. So to give young students the possibility to reach very, very busy and very highly traveling musicians and learn from them. That was the initial idea of Appassio, and still is. And then the pandemic came, and everything was different. Nobody could have predicted that, obviously, and neither did we. But when it happened, Appassio was immediately very, very crowded, because many professors, especially from the German-speaking area, were saying, wow, finally a software where you can teach music and where you can hear everything and where it's great. And so we, in the first months, we did our best to help as good as possible, also institutional customers on Appassio, which is actually for normal and private people. And then we decided to, since the request came from the UDK Berlin as a first institutional customer, if they could have an Appassio for them, like a closed environment. And that's when Appassimo was born. So we took our technology and made it possible for institutional clients to use us. And now we are blessed that many universities are using us, and hopefully they're still very happy.
We know that during the pandemic, lots of students, also the artistic students, have actually suffered due to the fact that they could only communicate via online channels. Do you perceive this opportunity, but also its limits?
Well, I mean, what I always say when I talk about online tuition is that it really depends on the master, on the teacher. Everything depends on the teacher. So meaning, if you have a mediocre teacher or even a bad teacher that teaches you offline, you will learn nothing. And if you have a great teacher online, you will learn everything. So the point is, of course, it's better to have a great teacher offline, but it's much better to have an excellent teacher online than a mediocre teacher offline. And this is basically, in a nutshell, why online works. We knew already 2017 that online tuition works. Of course, you have to teach differently. You cannot touch. You have to explain maybe more and then let the student do more, but which can be also very beneficial. So it's an opportunity much more than it is a nuisance, the online tuition.
But you are not denying the fact that the face-to-face contact is important as well.
No, of course.
From what I know, in your new project, which is a piano academy, it is about not to be only an online but a hybrid project.
Exactly, and this is exactly the point. So when I said that, of course, it's the best to have an excellent teacher in the room. Obviously, that's much better. That's the ideal, right? The academy that we are launching is. The name is Paderewski Academy because we chose the name and the patron simply because Paderewski was not only probably one of the greatest pianists ever living, definitely the highest paid pianist ever living, still is, by the way. But next to it, he was an entrepreneur, he was politician, obviously, statesman, and so much more. Composer, and we started this academy because of two factors. If in normal education, university education, you have two big problems. You have lots of students who get a paper, but in actuality they cannot play the piano much. And the second problem is they cannot live in the market. They cannot live from what they studied. And these two issues, which are very, very crucial, we want to solve with this academy. So that's why we chose Paderewski, because our students will not only learn everything about the lace, the old school of really interpreting the way it should be, but they will also be prepared for the music business. They will learn how the music market works. They will learn how entrepreneurship works, because you see, Wagner or people like that. Wagner was not only designing his own concert hall, he was doing everything else. He was fundraising, he was a businessman. That's why he was successful during his lifetime. Many people, also great musicians, were not successful during their lifetime. But of course the economic success of musicians are directly connected with the output of a musician, because if a musician cannot live on a nice level, then he will also, his art will suffer, and he will not do as much as he would if he would live nicely. So this is the big our big mission with this academy, that we ultimately create happy people, because this sounds a bit trivial, but this is the to the core. It's about making the students happy with their life and with their playing and with their standing in the business. So it means if you have to, like in startuping or so, you have to set yourself goals, you have to set yourself objectives, and then you have to reach them, and that's what's making you happy. So our students, for example, they will exactly be taught by us what they actually want to reach. We will guide them what they can reach, what they have to do if they want to reach what they want, and then guide them into being fulfilled musicians. This is the idea.
And how is it different from master classes in terms of the time spent together with professors? How
this is a very, very intensive course. Like we have much more piano lessons than any university during the year, because one has too little piano lessons, simply. My life was different from the start. I started when I was 14 only, but then I practiced immediately 6-7 hours a day, and and the progress in the first years was amazing. And now with the work and the launch phase of this academy, I was for fun calculating how many piano lessons I had the first 2 years with my first teacher, and it ended up I had 300 piano lessons a year. So almost, of course, not every day. Sometimes I had a full day and so on. But if you calculate everything together, I had that many lessons, and that's how you make progress. So people, it will be very intense for our students. That's for sure.
Among all the projects that you enlist as the ones that you are working on intensively nowadays is also one related to AI. Aren't you a bit afraid as a musician of AI? We know that AI can already write symphonies, and now, as I understand, you want to teach it also musicality.
Well, the thing is, you see, as long as we have still current, we cannot stop technology in the next decades. If the current will be gone and if we don't have any electricity anymore, then everything will be reset and we'll be maybe happier, who knows. But this probably will not happen. So, and if that doesn't happen, we can't stop technology. That's the first thing. And that doesn't have to be something bad, technology in itself. It has to be just used right. You say something about composing, AI composing. Of course, there are many algorithms that absolutely can compose. I told you about our big mission to make quality music and music more musical again. That's our core mission. And the problem with AI composing is actually not the AI composing, but the human counterparts that write worse and worse music on average. Like I'm now very mean. I'm talking on average. There are still great composers, of course. But for example, if you look at the average of composed music, the AIs are not the problem. The AIs are composing almost like the people already, but not because the AI is so good, but because the people are not so good anymore. And that's where the education comes in, you see. So technology and music is not to disentangle anymore at all. And if you're like us in that world, then you know just much more what will come in the next 20 years. And it's not going to be, it's going to be amazing. I mean, what will come and what is already possible. And it's just not yet mainstream. So, but yet again, AI is such a buzzword. You know, everybody says AI. But there are, of course, several kinds of AI, and it's not like that the machine is possible to do everything autonomously, and it's not yet there. And it might be coming there, but right now we don't have to be afraid yet. But much more important is that in AI, you actually see, since humans are doing the algorithms and the machines, you see actually the limitations of us humans in the code. Like we are creating flawed things as we are as humans, you know. So that's why I see myself much more as I like AI, and we are doing a machine learning project and so. But it's much more actually. I want to change something real, you know, and the real thing is that actually people play better again.
Thanks to AI?
Yes, and that's the goal, you know. It's not about making an AI that will replace us all, because that will happen either way or not. Who knows? We will see. If robots start playing music, then they will be cheaper than human musicians. So they will have more concerts than human musicians. That can happen, doesn't have to happen. So I'm here relaxed because I zoom out in my thinking. And if you zoom out far enough, then you see that the most important thing is the actual quality of music. The next decades will be about, in many fields, will be about ethics, will be about quality of things, because we have to actually come to the root. You know, if you build a machine that replicates this, what we humans do or think, then it's like you need philosophers, you need ethics, you need all these things to take into account, because the machine will exactly do what we tell it to do, and then we have to know what's quality music in the first place. And this is the problem, because most of the musicians that I know have never really thought about what is quality music really, what is musicality really about.
Yeah, you used the word musicality, and it seems to be very present in your public speeches, in your articles as well, as you tend to say that we lack musicality and we are teaching students that are not musical. So my question is whether it is even possible to teach musicality.
Very good question. I mean, many people would say, I talked to many very good conductors and famous musicians that said actually they came to the conclusion, older people mainly, they came to the conclusion that you can't teach how to play the piano. You can't teach how to conduct. Either somebody can or somebody can't. You can just lead the way. That somebody. So the point is, we going then straight into the question of what is reality really. Our reality, what's consciousness really? We don't know yet where our consciousness, where it is, what it is. We don't know. So we live in a world that we don't really understand. So I know this is now a very, very big topic, but I'm very positive that it's actually possible to teach musicality and to let's at least make people aware of what musical music is about. I mean, in my book, music without musicality shouldn't exist, because if you play just music without the expressions, without the how to put it, the emotions delivered, without the dancing, the joy, the human side of music. If you don't have that in music, you just have frequencies. And that's not enough for me. That's not music. That's just, well, I mean, I cannot go into detail of that project because this is a long project now that just started, and I'm bound by NDAs, like non-disclosure agreements. I cannot go into detail of what we do exactly. It will hopefully change the world for better. Let's see. You can never be sure. This is also the nice thing about doing things that haven't been done yet. That's what I meant earlier by addicting processes. If you start projects that started in your brain and didn't exist yet, and then you manifest them, you get funding, you have a team working on it, you make it, then it's like it's really something addicting to make something you just thought of. And of course, I am not alone. My wife Paulina, we do all our startups together, so we are co-founders everywhere, and which is a blessing in itself that we can work together and have the mission in our lives.
As we are slowly coming to the conclusion of our interview, let me ask the question which goes out of the topics that we have touched upon. I mean, composition. It seems to be a rather new area, if in your artistic way. I wonder, how did you come to this? What was the path?
Yeah, that was actually very nice, natural in a way. Like I told you, I had a very different life than others. So I started very late playing the piano, and so in these first years, from 14 on, composing was really never on my radar, because I had to make up so many things. I had to learn how to play the piano on that level that I wanted, and since my brother is a composer himself, I always thought that's ticked in the family. But then it was my wife who actually, I started slowly to play my own cadenzas for piano concerti and stuff like this, and then she said, hey, you have a real talent there, do it, try it. And then I said, okay, I do it for you. So my wife actually made me compose, and I'm very happy, because now that if you do compose, it really changes your like musical world view one more time. Like you also, the interpretations that if you play other composers changes completely, because you start thinking like a creator. And this is also something that we want to, in the academy, to come back to the academy, implement for our students, because in the beginning of the 20th century, almost all of the great pianists were composing. Some were not publishing, not playing it. Yeah, that's right. Kochalski alone, I think he burned all until Opus 49, everything, because he said, I wrote like a kid or something. So, but they were all composing. That's the thing. And you see that in their interpretations that they did compose, because
they could improvise, and
exactly.
That's another huge question missing in the education.
Absolutely, right? And this is something that is so important. And since I do that, actually, it really changed my life, because it's fun. First of all, I like it, but next to it, it's really eye-opening as to, because exactly what I meant by when I say musicality and expressions and all this exactly comes in when you compose, because you don't compose notes, I mean, at least I don't. I compose expressions. I compose situations. I don't know, and Chopin and Mozart did that for sure. Not that I would put myself on that level. I will for sure never be like them. But they did write these kind of situations, expressions, feelings, and this you feel then much more, because all of a sudden, wow, you see things that you haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm. I understand that you are not comparing yourself to Chopin or Mozart, but you are actually putting their works, Chopin, Liszt, Beethoven, next to yours during your recitals. Was there kind of a blockade that you had to overcome somehow to also expose yourself in this way?
Well, you see, I mean, I have so much respect for these composers that I would never dare to put myself close to their quality. But as I said, it's just fun to play your own pieces for people. This is as simple as it is, and so far, when I play them, I actually get good feedback that people like hearing my music, which is the most important thing, because it might be that history will show that I'm a terrible composer, and that's fine too, But it's just fun to play your own emotional states for the audience, and this is something that is really, I cannot explain it better. It's like if you put yourself completely out on the table, you have no shield. You just, that's me, like it or don't, and I like this kind of setting.
Mm-hmm. So just to sum up, also regarding the future for music, for classical music, are you rather an optimist or a pessimist?
I'm an optimist always, because life is a wave. If you zoom in far enough, it's all quantum mechanics, is all wave. And so even if I say it went down for decades, which it did, it's a wave. It will go up again. And I think it doesn't take long. If you catch the 7-year-olds or whatever, 10 years later they're 17. So in 10 years you can change a generation. So I'm not pessimistic at all. Just currently the way it is can't go on like it does, but it will anyway solve itself, because you see promoters have problems surviving, musicians have problems surviving. It will kind of, the market will regulate also itself, which is a tough thing to say, but it is also a good thing that it does. But I'm absolutely optimistic. It will be a very nice future, definitely.
Thanks also to your projects, hopefully. Ingolf Wunder was our guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.